Welcome to MJ Loves Toku, episode 59. This is MJ Love Tokusatsu, and right now I want to talk about Kamen Rider 4. Not Kamen Rider 4, but I mean, your 1971 Kamen Rider, the original show, episode 4. And I have two titles for this episode. I really wanted to stick with this formula of going with really cool Takeshi Hongo quotes. The best I was able to pull from this episode is, I'm afraid I'm not as... Oh, I spelled it wrong. I'm afraid I'm not as strong as the Kamen Rider. So that's funny. I'm going to leave that in, folks. Anyway, I'll probably correct that for uploading, but if you're watching the video, you get to see my goof here. Anyway, so I'm afraid I'm not as strong as the Kamen Rider, or like, has Shocker taken away even my ability to soothe a small child? Those are both like decent quotes. They're weird though. I'm afraid I'm not as strong as the Kamen Rider is interesting because I wanted to take the angle on that of like another psychological, or I don't know if I already said the word psychological, so anyway, an angle on it that Takeshi Hongo is kind of separating himself from the Kamen Rider as much as he can in order to not maintain his sanity, but to help him cope with what's happened to him. And I was going to talk about that, but I feel like there will be opportunities for me to do that in the future, and I definitely take myself too seriously with these analyses, and I thought I was going to have, or I figured I'd have more fun this time. So my, what I'm really going to go with is this idea that Kamen Rider is our monster. Kamen Rider is the monster who's on our side, and I really like that, and I think the visuals in this episode kind of work towards that. There's this great scene where the Sarracenian, or the pitcher plant man, as they call him in the subtitles of the episode, which is different from how they title the episode, which is funny. I think they call him the human-eating Sarracenian, because really, if he's if he's a plant man now, is he really a cannibal if he eats people? I don't know. I don't know how I feel with it. Anyway, but the Sarracenian breaks into, I don't even know whose home it is. I guess it's the Kenji and Yuki's home. Anyway, he's in there. He's attacking Ruriko and... I still need to remember her name. Hirumi, I think. Anyway, he's attacking them, and then the rider comes in, and his eyes glow, and then bright light flashes from behind him, which, that light shouldn't have been anywhere, but shouldn't have been coming from anywhere. But this is, drama and a TV show, and they're escalating things by using, interesting imagery, and that's exactly what they've done here. And the way his eyes light up, it's not like, oh, I am the beacon of hope, Kamen Rider, I'm here to save you. It's more like, I'm here to kill, and I'm going to kill the thing that's scaring you and hunting you and haunting you. And I think that's pretty cool. I don't know if that comes more... I don't know if that's like a writing decision or a directing decision. Because obviously, the pitcher plant man is going to attack these people, and then Kamen Rider is going to save them. That sounds like maybe a writing, the way it would be written, and then... he comes through the window, it's dark, and then his eyes flash, and then there's a flash of light behind him, and he leaps through the window and starts attacking. That seems more like a directing decision. And anyway, I don't know who to credit for that necessarily, but I will share with you the credits for this episode. So apparently this was, according to the Japanese wiki, this was episode 3 in order of production. The director was Itaru Orita, and then I'm a little confused about the name here. I probably should have scanned through more writing credits to see exactly who this could have been, but it says Ichikawa, Moriichi, Shimada. Is that 3 different writers, or is that one person's name? I don't know. I'll have to do some more research on that and get back to you and include more information about that next time I talk about Kamen Rider. So anyway, those are the people who did it. Itaru Orita did the directing, which I believe they did the directing on episode 2 as well. And then Ichikawa, Moriichi, Shimada would be who the writing credits go to. Anyway, moving on from there. And the thing with me including these credits is I just kind of want to include them so I can get a feel for all the different people involved and see if anything sticks out in particular from their different writing styles. Like, I guess... So there was a lot I liked about this episode, and I liked it overall, but there were a lot of scenes where there was just like random scenes of quietness, or it wasn't quietness, but like there was no dialogue, there was no conversation, it was all just kind of action with some music behind it. Yukie is threatened that she'll be killed by Shocker, of course, and she has till noon before she's going to be set into the the chamber or whatever and have all that electricity run through her body, and it'll probably kill her unless she's worthy of being a Shocker cyborg, but which who knows. But she obviously doesn't want to meet that fate because she watched a man die right in front of her because he wasn't strong enough. And Shocker has no problem murdering people. Obviously, that's what they do all the time. But anyway, Hongo is riding his motorcycle to go rescue her, and it's just like this very dramatic, very I don't know how to say it, but it's a very percussive soundtrack, and he's just riding across a great distance. He's like on the streets, he's in the wilderness, he's in different areas, and it's just this whole time. And it was a little, I don't know, it was a little anticlimactic, and I was thinking what did they do? Was the episode short? And they're like, hey, you know what, we need to be 2 minutes longer. Could we add in some B-roll of him riding around and put some really intense music behind it as he's going to save her? And you know what, we'll edit it like this so it looks like he's racing against the clock to rescue her, because I don't think he knew what time she was going to be executed, or potentially killed. But anyway, let me just zoom through some stuff to talk about for this episode. So again, overall I liked it. I think the effects were a lot better as far as the Sarracenian dragging Yukie into the ground. They had peat moss or whatever, and they had a tarp that they'd cut holes in and whatever, and then he's standing in it and pulling her down. I mean, they must have dug up, these maybe look like fake plants too, but they must have spent some time doing the work for the practical effect to work, where he's pulling her into the ground, and I think it looks pretty good. And then what they do is, as her hand is descending in, where there's the hole and everything, in order to make it look like it's been covered up and you can't see her, it's difficult to see where she went, I guess they fade it or dissolve from they dissolve to the hole completely closed up. So maybe before the scene or after they'd covered it up or whatever. But it's a lot less jumpy, and it's a lot cleaner, and it just looks like, she went underground and then somehow mysteriously the ground closed up, and she wasn't able to be seen again. And that was pretty intense, pretty interesting and scary, especially for little Kenji. Anyway, I like the fact that he goes and he gets he runs into Ruruko and her friend, and she's just a more important character. The friend is just there to help, just unfortunately I remember the waiter's name all the way from back when I was watching the show years ago. I'm pretty sure it's Goro, but I might only remember that because I'm pretty sure Ishinomori's son is named Goro. Anyway, Goro is bugged with the kid because they take him to Snack Amigo, and he's like, hey, you shouldn't tease grown-ups. You shouldn't be lying to them. And then I really like that Hongo believes Kenji. He goes on to say that part of the reason he believes Kenji is because 6 other people have disappeared next to this botanical garden where Yukie was when she disappeared, and where Kenji was with her. And I mentioned that there was a guy executed right in front of her, and I think that the idea is supposed to be that he's one of the 6 people that was captured by Pitcher Plant Man, which, by the way, I keep saying that because I like to be obnoxious sometimes. It's funny to me, and I'm sure some people would say, he's not Pitcher Plant Man, he's credible. Yeah, I know. I don't need to give my cred to anybody. I don't need you to believe that I'm, a tokusatsu archivist or historian or whatever. I'm a guy who likes the stuff and enjoys talking about it. So I'm gonna do it however the heck I want. Anyway, I like that Hongo believes the kid. It's nice. It's it's good and optimistic. It's nice for children to see that the hero character is gonna believe in you or trust you and not be like most adults who just ignore children and dismiss them as being ridiculous or silly or whatever. That's fun. I'm sure it's not as forward thinking as that, but at least looking back from where I am now, I can kind of read that into it, and it makes me happy. It makes me like it. It makes me like Hongo more. Okay, so then here's the line. Has Shocker taken even my ability to soothe the crying child? He was trying to help Kenji and help him feel better, and he was holding his hands, and his cyborg strength kicked in, or he lost focus and ended up hurting the kid. And I just think that's a really interesting idea. Once again, this is one more way in which Shocker has stripped away some of Hongo's humanity, or at least they've made it hard for being fully human to be his default. Like, I hope they never do anything like this, but it would almost be, and I doubt they do based on what I know from Kamen Rider, but it would almost be interesting to see if at some point Shocker were to try to tempt Hongo to come back and like, look, we're going to finish your, like, you've done so much, you've been through so much, so much heartache, like maybe like an older, like this would be cool for them to do in a movie. Well, I mean, I don't know that they're going to get to, Hiroshi Fujioka to ever come back for another movie, but like he did that awesome movie with Kamen Rider Ghost, one of the best ever. Just like Kamen Rider Ghost is one of the best ever. Anyway, don't argue with, or go ahead and argue with me if you want, but it's the truth, and the truth will set you free. Anyway, it would have been interesting to see a concept like he's been through so much and he has so much heartache that in order to escape from that he would be willing to give his mind over to Shocker and they would erase his memory or something. But he would never do that, knowing the consequences and knowing what they would do with his body once he had given himself to them. But still, I think it'd be interesting to see him at a point where he, I don't know, would be offered that but wouldn't consider it, because that would not be good for him to consider it. I mean, it would be dramatic, that's sure, but I wouldn't like it ultimately. Let's see. So the fights were super intense in this episode. He did a lot of like jumping down hills, and it's interesting because like the Shocker grunts, they have to fall and be hurt and whatever by every move the rider does, and they can't really get a good hit on him like they do. Like they might connect with a hit or two. He's not dodging every hit, but they're usually not hurting him at all. Or he's pretty able to shrug him off. But it's funny to watch how they try to sell that as a special effect, or given this is special effects and it's people faking that they're hurt and being injured by this guy and that he's able to shrug off because they're barely tapping him or whatever, right? I think you get what I'm saying. But at some moments he's like jumping down the hill and trying to do it, and I'm pretty sure this is Fujioka because he did a lot of the fight scenes, at least early on, dressed as the rider. And anyway, it's just kind of awkward. But it's still pretty darn effective. Like for a moment I paused and like, oh, they're really trying hard. But ultimately I really do like the effect of it. And the editing and the pacing of it is frenetic enough, but not in a way where it's like going to make me throw up by watching it, like the shaky cam in movies like those Bourne movies. I couldn't watch those, man. Anyway, and at least it's far enough away that you can actually see what's going on in the fight, which is something I like, even if they do a lot of cuts. So again, I liked it. I like that these Pitcher Plant Man guys were all, or combat men I should say, were all wielding knives and were like throwing knives and stuff. That was a really cool detail. It was different. And they also had whips, but you didn't really get to see them like winding up with the whips. You basically just saw Ryder catching them and using them against them instead, or throwing them or whatever. I really like the fact that he takes a hostage again. The title I want to go with, or the focus of this episode, is that Kamen Rider is the monster who works for people, who fights against Shocker. And I like that a lot. There's just something so satisfying about him being a tool of evil. And, he's supposed to be a tool of evil, but he uses that evil power against that evil instead, or that, power-rooted and evil. And I won't belabor it beyond that, but I just think it's really neat that he actually captures this guy. And apparently Shocker, whenever one of their people's captured, they just have them executed. Or one, they don't care, and then two, in order to tie up loose ends, they go and have them executed. And that's, you know, not great for them. I already talked about Yuki. I like the fact that Shocker's like still trying to build their ranks, and the fact that 6 other people have been captured besides Yuki, and who knows how many of them were turned into some sort of Shocker cyborg. It gives you the feeling and it gives you the sense that there are stakes and that Hongo is fighting a losing battle so far. Yeah, he's able to save some people, but 6 people probably are dead, and if they're not dead, they've been turned into Shocker, you know, cyborgs, and that's pretty scary. Anyway, I couldn't really capture it well. I probably would have had to have done a video clip, but at one point, the Kamen Rider is driving on this hill towards all these Shocker combat men, and they just jump out of the way because he's going to hit them with his motorcycle. And that's, again, that's really cool. Like, that's mean and that's nasty, but it's very effective, and I'm glad he's, you know, working on the side of the heroes, or the good people. While there wasn't, I'm sorry. I like this camera trick they do with changing the lighting, or not the camera trick, but these things that they do to set the mood and the ambiance. When the Sarracenian is invading the Yukie Kenji home or apartment, they do this cool thing where they tint the lights green and they throw his silhouette up on the curtain, and then he just like gets in somehow. They don't explain how. It's creepy, it's weird, but I like the visuals that they did as it was, you know, winding up. And then there's this nasty effect where he grabs one of his own men. It was number 3 who was captured, and he like dissolves his body. I guess kind of like he's a pitcher plant, so it's like a Venus flytrap. So I guess the idea is that he has something in his body, and he's got his like tentacles or whatever vines wrapped around this guy's face, and he's somehow, you know, using that to inject the chemicals into his body and cause him to be, you know, dissolved or whatever. And he does this great thing where he's like squeezing the guy's torso. They zoom in on that, and then all of a sudden like the shirt like deflates because the guy's body's gone, and it's pretty nasty, pretty cool effect. And I really love the suit design for Sarracenian. I think one of the best things is how open his eyes were and how they designed the eyes of the mask to reveal the human eyes inside, because something about like whoever played him physically has some creepy looking eyes, especially in that mask and in, you know, the full context or whatever. And I don't know, there's just interesting things about him. He's got this like weird super wide mouth. He's got like a cleft chin, like a really strong chin, and like the tendrils or like vines on his head shake, especially when he's making that sound, which is disconcerting, and I do not like it. I don't know why they do that. You know, there's the like meme of the Shocker guys, but like, you know, that's okay. I don't really like that. It's a little too campy for me, honestly. Like, you know, I want Shocker to stay scary, and I think they can. Like nobody from Golgum ever did that kind of stuff, and they were like the perfect balance of being, you know, for a kid's show and being scary, I think. But anyway, but did Golgum really have grunts? I don't think Golgum had grunts. I think only Crisis did. Anyway, I love Black and Black RX, so yeah, that's showing here. Anyway, but he does this like irritating, disgusting, despicable, like and his head tendrils shake, and he's super creepy, and those eyes definitely help with the creepiness. So I'm praising all that, even as I say I kind of don't like it. Anyway, and then there's the great scene where Hongo breaks in, you know, his eyes light up and everything, and he breaks in and fights Sarracenian. And I just love that they're fighting in an apartment. Like, they're not afraid to do this kind of stuff. They get outside pretty quickly, but it's just, I don't know, it feels kind of bold to me, and it feels like, as a kid watching this, it would have felt like, oh man, the stakes are real. Like, they're in someone's home. Like, that's my apartment. You know, it looks like we've got that orange carpet too. And I don't know, I just think that's really fun. I like when superhero stuff can be a little pedestrian, but like, it's still, there's still this high stakes, but it's like, it's happening in my home. That kind of thing is fun. I like that Sarracenian has like a whip. I think that's pretty cool. And again, his suit design is cool. It's super simple. Those tights, man, though, like that dude looks like he has the stuff like painted on. But anyway, you know, he's rocking it pretty well. But it's fun that like most of his body's, you know, the green, and then he's got like that red leaf on his forehead, and then like the yellow leaf on like his midsection or something, and then it's like all those like harsh red veins, like they evoke blood, they evoke, you know, veins on plants. I think it's, you know, very, very good stuff. And then just I love the vines, and the vines being turned into whips. That's one of my favorite things in, you know, media. Let me see. I made a video clip that I will post on Twitter, and I'll embed it into the post where you see this too, or, you know, on the blog where I'll have everything posted for this episode, like the show notes and everything, so to speak, and images from it. And again, Hongo saying he's not as strong as the Kamen Rider to Kenji is cute, and like it's kind of fun how he, you know, is distancing himself from this, you know, dual identity that he has. But at the end, Kenji and Yukie visit Hongo, and they talk to him, and they have a real nice conversation for, you know, a minute and a half, something like that. And then he walks off, and you know, the narration is just talking about how lonely he is, and how he's just gonna have to keep carrying on as Kamen Rider. And I don't know, it's kind of funny, like, I know I wasn't going to talk about this too much, but, you know, I won't too much. It's just interesting how, like, to cope, he kind of separates himself from the Kamen Rider, but he knows that that's who he is at the end. Like, he can't ever deny it, but he tries to push it off, and like, yeah, I'm Takeshi Hongo, and I helped, and I'm, you know, the Kamen Rider's friend, and like, you know, we help each other out. And just, I don't know, that's an interesting idea to me, a very interesting idea, and I like it. And I don't know, I love the optimism and the playfulness and the good-heartedness of Takeshi Hongo, and like seeing all that, it's no wonder, you know, he's able to bear all this stuff and to be a good guy in spite of everything that's happened to him, and that's really admirable. But, you know, then again, he is, you know, our monster, and I love seeing him wreck Shocker, and it's really interesting how, like, he, you know, wields violence against them or whatever, but like, that's the tool you need sometimes in order to stop evil people from doing evil. And you know, he wields it deftly, and it's I don't know, it's interesting how, like, extreme he's willing to go, and I like it. It's fun. It's a different, I guess it's probably just a different ethos from Western superhero type stuff or Western adventure stuff, and that's why it's extra fun to see. I don't know. Let me know what you think about that. I'm not, I try very hard not to be like a Japanophile or, you know, hardcore weeaboo or whatever, and like, oh, these things are so much better because they're from Japan. But like, I happen to enjoy a lot of stuff from Japan, and I think it's just, there's like an ethos or like a way that they do their heroic characters and stuff that I just personally find very compelling, and I identify with. Because I don't mind people, you know, going a little extra hard, but like, I don't like the Punisher or things like that, or the concept of the Punisher, because like, you know, the guy just like goes around killing people, like, that's not cool. I still identify more with characters like Spider-Man, like that's more of where I want things to be, and like, yeah, that's kind of my ideal. And even though Kamen Rider is very severe, like, he does kill monsters, you know, on the regular, but he kills monsters who are like straight up murdering people, and that's like their only reason to exist, and that's the only reason to stop them. And I think if Spidey was going up against people who were just trying to murder as many people as possible, he would have to behave a little bit differently. But I'm not here to argue about Spider-Man. You can check that out eventually when I get back to Spider-Man on Swinging Through Comics. I'm wrapping up on Cap there. Anyway, I'm diverting from the point of this analysis and review and whatever. So I'll go ahead and thank you for your attention, and get out of here. If you enjoyed this, like, comment, and share to help me grow. Don't forget to subscribe to keep current with each release. Chat with me on Twitter at MJ_scribe. Visit mjmunoz.com/podcast to find the multiple feeds in which I analyze Star Wars, tokusatsu, comics, and more. Visit mjmunoz.com/support for links to my Redbubble and Coffee pages, so you can help keep me doing the things I do. Thank you so much for your time and attention. Until next time, be well, and remember, you don't have to shout henshin to be a hero.